The doctors called it retrograde amnesia, a clean slate after the car wreck. My family filled it with their version of me. Lily, the sweet but aimless art school dropout. "Don't worry about the past, honey," my mother soothed. "Just focus on getting better." For 6 months, I believed them, until I was cleaning out the attic for a garage sale and a dusty drafting tube fell, spilling out elaborate schematics for a revolutionary water purification device. Scrawled in the corner of each page, in handwriting that was unmistakably my own, L. Vance, Prototype 7, patent pending, and a sticky note from my brother's lawyer. Per our discussion, all Lily's IP is now securely transferred to Vance Solutions. The accident presents a perfect cover for her permanent exit from the company. The memories didn't flood back, they detonated. According to my family, I'm Lily Vance, 29, a gentle soul with a head for pretty colors, not business. I live in the pool house of my parents' estate, painting forgettable landscapes. I'm encouraged to be grateful, quiet, and dependent. The truth screaming from those blueprints is different. I am Alara Vance, co-founder and chief engineer of Aquasol Solutions, the L. Vance on those patents. Before the accident, I wasn't painting watercolors, I was designing systems to provide clean water to drought-stricken communities. My brother, Colin, handled the business and finances. The accident happened after a fierce argument about him taking the company public against my ethical objections. I remember the blinding headlights swerving into my lane. I remember nothing after. My amnesia wasn't just a tragedy, it was a corporate coup, and I've just found the minutes of the meeting. Life in the pool house was a gilded cage. My family's kindness had a patronizing edge. "Maybe stick to abstract pieces, Lil," Colin would say, glancing at my latest canvas. "The technical stuff never was your strong suit." My father would hand me an allowance for art supplies. They had rewritten my history, and I was the blank book they were inscribing. The attic discovery was an accident. My mother wanted to declutter our past. The drafting tube was shoved behind a broken rocking horse. The moment I saw the first schematic, an elegant fractal design for a solar-powered desalination core, a synaptic lightning bolt struck. I didn't just understand it, I felt it. The calculations, the stress points, the beautiful efficiency of it sang in a forgotten part of my brain. Then I saw my signature, then the lawyer's note. A cold clarity sharper than any memory washed over me. The accident, my convenient amnesia, their narrative of my failure, it was all a hostile takeover. They hadn't just stolen my company, they had tried to erase me and replace me with a docile ghost. I didn't confront them, I started a new project in the pool house. Not art, forensics. I began quietly accessing old cloud backups, using password hints only I would know, my childhood dog's name, the coordinates of our first test site. I found emails, board meeting transcripts, patent transfer documents. Colin had systematically leveraged my incapacitation to shift all voting rights and intellectual property to himself. The company was days away from a lucrative, exclusive merger with a conglomerate known for patent hoarding and killing community-focused projects, the exact opposite of my life's work. I also discovered my own secret final failsafe. Buried in the code of our flagship Aquasol unit was a creator's lock, a backdoor protocol only my biometric signature could activate. It could remotely shut down every unit in the field, a feature I'd built in case the technology was ever weaponized or corrupted. Colin didn't know it existed. The annual Vance Solutions Future of Water Gala was in 1 week. It was where the merger would be unofficially celebrated. I had an invitation, as the family's tragic, decorative sister. The gala was a sea of champagne and self-congratulation. I wore a simple black dress, my amnesiac smile plastered on. I watched Colin on stage, next to the smug CEO of the conglomerate. "We stand on the brink of scaling our vision to millions," he proclaimed, to rapturous applause. My father beamed. My mother wiped a proud tear. They saw their son, the savior. They saw their daughter, the pretty accessory. I waited for the Q&A. An investor asked about long-term system integrity. Colin gave a glossy non-answer. I stepped forward, taking the spare microphone from a startled moderator. My voice, amplified, was calm and clear. That's an excellent question. The integrity is ensured by a proprietary stabilization protocol, version 4.7 to be precise, the one I wrote. The room fell silent. Colin's face was a frozen mask of shock. "Lily, honey, not now," my mother whispered from the front row, a warning. "I think now is exactly the time, Mother," I said, not looking at her. I addressed the room. "My name is Alara Vance. I am the inventor of Aquasol Core. 6 months ago, after a fierce argument about this exact merger, I was forced off the road. My subsequent amnesia was used to fraudulently transfer my patents and disenfranchise me from my own company." Chaos erupted. Colin spluttered into his mic. "She's confused. The accident, her mind." I pulled a small tablet from my clutch. With a tap, I activated the creator's lock. On the large screen behind Colin, the real-time global map of active Aquasol units flickered, and one by one, their status lights turned from green to a pulsing, warning amber. A collective gasp filled the room. The technology has a conscience. I built it that way. It only works for the right purpose. Currently, its purpose is being hijacked, so it's going to sleep. I looked directly at the conglomerate CEO. "The patents you're buying are currently inactive, and only I can wake them up." The fallout was instant and merciless. The merger collapsed. Investors sued. The board demanded an emergency audit. In the storm's eye, I offered a deal. I would return full functionality on 3 conditions: my reinstatement as CEO with majority control, a full forensic audit of the company's finances since my accident, and a legally binding mandate that the company's mission return to its original non-profit-driven charter. Colin had no choice. The alternative was total ruin. My family's facade crumbled. The narrative of the poor, fragile Lily was gone, replaced by the formidable Alara they had tried to bury. Conversations at the estate were now cold, transactional silences. I moved out of the pool house and into a downtown loft. The first thing I hung on the wall wasn't a painting. It was the original, dusty blueprint from the attic, framed. Sometimes I look at it, touching the glass over my old signature. The accident stole my past. My family tried to steal my future. But in the empty space they created, I found something unshakable, the engineer I always was. They told me I was a failure who painted pretty pictures. Turns out, I was the architect all along, and I just rebuilt my world from the blueprint up. 3 years before the accident, the air in our garage-turned-lab was thick with the smell of solder and hope. Colin and I were a perfect, if unlikely, partnership. He saw markets and margins, I saw aquifers and communities. Our first prototype, a clunky mess of PVC and filters, produced its first liter of clean water from mud. He high-fived me. "We're gonna be rich, Lil." I corrected him, wiping grease on my jeans. "We're gonna change lives, Col. The money will follow." It did. Aquasol Solutions took off. But the fracture began with our first major investor. They wanted us to pivot to luxury in-home units for wealthy neighborhoods. "It's where the profit is," Colin argued in our new glass-walled office. "And it's a betrayal of everything we built this for," I shot back, pointing to the map of our test sites, farming cooperatives, drought-stricken towns. "We're not selling a lifestyle accessory, we're selling survival." The arguments became boardroom fixtures. The accident happened the night I refused to sign the paperwork for the conglomerate merger. "You're sentimental, Lily. You always have been," Colin had said, his voice cold. "This is business. If you won't get out of the way, you'll be moved." I left, furious. The headlights came from the opposite lane, swerving too deliberately. The last thing I remember before impact wasn't fear, it was the chilling certainty that it was no accident. In the pool house, surrounded by my innocuous watercolors, I became a spy in my own home. The allowance money bought a cheap encrypted burner phone. My art therapy was sketching network diagrams from memory, trying to recall server access points. The breakthrough came from a forgotten habit. I always used physical security keys. Where would past me hide a spare? I remembered the false backing in my old, now donated jewelry box. I found it in the attic in a crate marked Lily's Junk. Inside, taped behind the velvet, was a USB drive. It was a digital vault, design logs, encrypted journals, and the damning lockdown protocol specs. More chillingly, there were audio files. One, time-stamped the day before the accident, was a recorded call from my car. Colin's voice strained. "The board is with me, Lily. The offer from Hyperion Conglomerate is final. Sign the transfer, take a long vacation, or things could get complicated." My voice, steady but tired. Complicated. Is that what we're calling sabotage now, Colin? I know about the faulty batch of sensors you ordered for the Ghana rollout to create performance issues and justify selling. The recording ended with the screech of tires. It wasn't just a corporate takeover, it was attempted murder disguised as a merger. The night of the gala, I didn't just have the creator's lock. I had the audio file queued on the tablet, synced to the venue's PA system. When I took the microphone and stated my name, Ilara, I saw the blood drain from my family's faces. That name was a ghost they'd buried. Colin's denials were desperate. "She's unwell, the trauma." I played the audio, just the 30 seconds. His threat, my accusation about the censors. The room, filled with industry elites and journalists, went utterly silent, then erupted. I activated the lock. The map on screen was my coup de grace. Aquasol doesn't just provide water, I explained, my voice cutting through the din. It's a network, and I am its administrator. Hyperion wasn't buying a company, they were buying a monopoly they intended to cripple in developing regions to sell their own, more expensive solution. My brother was selling a death sentence for profit. Security approached me, but they were waved off by the board chairman, a stern man who had once mentored me. Let her speak. The week that followed was a whirlwind of lawyers and forensic accountants. The board, terrified of shareholder lawsuits and criminal investigations into the faulty censors, threw Colin under the bus. He was ousted, his shares seized to settle impending legal battles. My offer wasn't just a negotiation, it was an ultimatum delivered from a position of absolute power. I had the tech, the moral high ground, and the evidence. The family meeting at the estate was our last. My father, a man who valued legacy above all, couldn't meet my eyes. "You've destroyed your brother," he said, not to me, but to the mahogany desk. "I stopped a criminal from destroying thousands of lives. You chose which of those you wanted to be part of." My mother wept. "We only wanted to protect you. The company, the stress, it was too much for you after the accident." "You protected the lie," I replied, my voice finally breaking, "because the truth was that your golden boy was a monster and your daughter was the only one who could stop him. That didn't fit the family portrait." I left with a single suitcase. The pool house, the genteel prison, was already feeling like someone else's memory. 1 year later, the headquarters of Aquasol Solutions looks different. The glass walls remain, but the maps on display aren't market analyses. They're real-time hydration maps of the regions we serve, with community feedback scrolling on digital tickers. The merger with Hyperion was replaced by a partnership with a global nonprofit. My art now hangs in the lobby, not the forgettable landscapes, but bold, geometric pieces inspired by fluid dynamics and circuit boards. They are signed E. Vance. I received a letter from Colin last month from a minimum security white-collar facility. It was full of legal jargon and justifications. I didn't finish it. Some blueprints are best left unread. My parents and I have a stiff, quarterly dinner. The conversation is polite, anchored in safe topics like the weather. The canyon between us is too deep to cross. They see the CEO who destroyed their son. I see the people who tried to erase their daughter. Sometimes, when a complex engineering problem keeps me up at night, I walk to the lobby and stand before that first framed blueprint from the attic. I trace the lines of my own youthful, hopeful handwriting. The accident stole my past, my family tried to steal my future, but in the wreckage of their lies, I found the most crucial component, my own unshakable truth. I am not the artist they invented. I am the engineer who remembered how to build, not just machines, but a life worth living, from the ground up on my own terms.